It's June the 11th, 2012 at 7:30 a.m. and I'm filming the same patch of bushes and trees that I filmed the last time regarding these interdimensional organisms. And today you could see the mass of them more pronounced because it's not as sunny and bright. It's partially sunny, and the lighting is better in order to show them. I'm just gonna try and back off a little bit. There's that house that they're next to, and right down on the bottom, like I said, there's a large concentration. All those cobweb like things on the tree, on the tree branches, are the organisms in high concentrations. Where the white part is, those are white orbs in large concentrations, and where the dark brown and light brown parts are, those are the black orb heavy concentrations. So there's white orbs and black orbs, and the rest of the orbs have turned to a green color so that they can simulate that they're leaves on those bushes. In fact, those bushes are all dead. There are no leaves. It's just these organisms, and they're simulating that they're leaves. Yeah, and in reality, there are no bushes that are alive there at all. No plant matter, because they've eaten all the plants and the bushes and the trees. They've eaten all the foliage. They even eat the bark. So all those trees are dead, and whatever looks like green leaves is just them. It's more of them. And these things are just systematically eliminating all the plant life around here and then replacing it with their own body mass and making it appear as if there are still leaves in the trees, but in fact the trees are all dead. So that's the problem I have with them, that they're killing all the plants around here, and that's not the only thing that they're wiping out. They're wiping out all the insects and the animals as well, all the small things, because these are new colonies, and the entities are just young, but they can grow to gigantic sizes. Some of these entities are real wasps, and I don't know what else they are, but they can turn into anything practically, and it's a matter for serious concern, because as you can see, there's a whole lot of them there, just in that one little area, let alone all over Toronto. There's a lot of trees everywhere, and they're in every one of them. Now, they emit some sort of electromagnetic pulse, and when there's a high concentration of them, you can't really see them when you're close, and the camera can't pick them up, because that's when the effect of the electromagnetic pulse is the strongest. It blurs the camera, and it just does something to your mind, and you can't see them even if they're right in front of you. So it's best to take pictures from farther away, because that's the only pictures that'll come out of these things. And there's what they look like when they're in high concentration. They look like a bunch of cells and a glob of cells, like they're globular, and they sort of coalesce or stick together like cells do, but they can operate individually. They're all intelligent, and they can do tasks and perform all kinds of things, and they can transform into anything. I've seen them transform into just about everything, and they do that spontaneously. There's no time lapse in them taking on a new form. It's immediate. So they have a lot of capabilities, and they have a lot of intelligence, and they have a lot of numbers. There's a whole lot of these things all over, astronomical numbers, and that's what's scary. Something so smart and so capable and so numerous is very scary. And the fact that they're eating all the trees and everything, and all the animals and insects and birds and all that, that makes these things very dangerous, because they're just multiplying like crazy every day, and the more they multiply, the more food they're going to consume, and they're going to be competing with us for the food chain. And eventually, at the rate that they multiply, there won't be a food chain. They'll just wipe the food chain right out, because there's too many of them, and more every minute. They reproduce exponentially, and it's a high rate of reproduction. They can even make copies of themselves. It's not just laying eggs and things like that. It's cloning. It's all kinds of reproductive techniques. I haven't even seen some of them. I mean, I've seen them in action, but I haven't heard about them yet. We don't know those kind. Or at least I haven't heard of the type that I see being implemented by these things. They're just mass producing, and they're gonna be the only entity on this planet, because they're gonna just outperform and outcompete every other life form. And that's what makes them so dangerous. They don't have to do anything else but eat, and then we're all in trouble. I'm just gonna back off to give you an idea where that is. So I'm just going to move up a little bit. You can see that that whole tree, even though it looks green and everything, all those leaves are just them. And you can tell that it's them in just the way the leaves shake, because there's absolutely no wind. And when the leaves start shaking real fast and just have like a real quick shake to them, you can tell that there are entities in those branches. Because that, see, like that, that's the motion that they have. There's absolutely no wind. They don't like being on camera, and they know that they're on camera. Every time I point the camera to a spot they don't want me to see, that's what they do. They start moving around. And that's how you can tell it's them. That's the first way to tell that it's them. The way the leaves move, and the way the branches react. So that's the first sign that they're there. Okay, because there's absolutely no wind right now, there or where I am. It's totally dead, and there should be no movement, because no other trees are moving, just there. And it's only where I put the camera that starts to move. So I know that it's them, because every time I put a camera somewhere on them, that's when the trees start to shake violently and the leaves start to just flutter around, because they're trying to set up so that they can hide. And pretty soon they're going to establish a perimeter that I can't penetrate with a camera. Okay, all those darker spots there, that's all them. Okay, that's all high concentrations of them. I mean, the whole thing is them, but the darker spots are just them in high numbers. All the dark spots right there, you can see where that's not normal tree coloring. But this is where you can see them the best, right here. Okay, this is the best spot to watch them, right there. And that's all just them. Even the blue part, that's not water behind there showing through the leaves. That's just them. They can assume any color. You can watch the white part and the blue part, and you'll see that they act the same. And you can't see the green part, how that's acting, because it's too dark. But the green part there that looks like leaves is them too. And all those branches, that's just them. They've assumed the shape of branches, and the whole thing is just them. There is nothing else there but them. Show you these right here up close. Now you see how blurry it looks? That's because there's some sort of, besides the electromagnetic pulses, it's like a cobweb effect. It's some sort of, I don't know if it's material or energy, but whatever it is, it's always around them when they're in high concentrations. And that's what creates the blur, so that you can't see them. And the way that's created is by them spinning around. They're transparent, so they spin around real fast counterclockwise around the nucleus, which is in that cluster, and they create a shield just by the motion. So the blur is their motion counterclockwise at a super high velocity, around and around, and that creates like a shield that your eyes or the camera can't penetrate if you go too close. So when you come too close, you see the blur, and they look out of focus. So that's what causes the blur and the out of focus effect on the camera. The other way they blur the camera is they just actually send an electromagnetic pulse right into the camera, and sometimes if it's strong enough, it can burn out the camera. I've lost 3 cameras now for that reason. So they have many ways of being invisible. They have many ways of disguising themselves. They assume other shapes and forms. They can camouflage really well, pretend they're something else. They can be something else, not just pretend. They can actually transform themselves into something else and be that thing. Or a person. I don't know about a person. I haven't seen them do a person, but I assume since they can do everything else, they could be a person. But I know they could be animals and insects and birds. That I know for sure. And they're so good at replicating things that it's identical. It's next to impossible to tell that it's not the real thing. You have to really know what to look for in order to tell that it's either a hologram or just their transformation, and it's them, but just in another form. That's what's hard to tell. It's hard to tell that it is them. That's how good they can mimic other organisms and transform themselves into other organisms. But you can't tell the difference between the real organism and their transformation. But all that there on the bottom of that white cluster in the front, all that cobwebbing, like, that's all organisms. And they're transparent. When they're up in the sky, you can't see it. You can't see them. It's just like looking through glass. They're very splash tone, very light, opaque-like color, and very difficult to see, especially if it's sunny out or if it's dark out. You can't see them unless they glow. So they can glow two ways. They can either glow by reflecting or refracting sunlight a certain way. If the sunlight hits them in a certain way, they'll give off a flash or a glow. Or they can be in an active cluster where they're creating energy and swarming, and then they glow because they're all heated up from all the motion, and the air around the cluster gets heated up and it glows. So they can glow in different ways. Now I can really see how it operates. Today is a good day for that because it's muggy, there's no wind, and there's not much sun. So whatever you see now is just them. Don't forget, these are highly intelligent organisms. Anything that can transform into another life form and act just like it in every possible way has got to be intelligent. Now the air is full of these things, and like I said, they're next to invisible. You really have to know what to look for to see them, but a lot of the clouds are formed by them. There's a lot of things in the sky that's formed by them, and we think it's something else. Our whole reality is in question, given the fact of all the things that these things have formed and imitate. They're giving us a holographic reality and replacing reality with holographic reality, and that's what's happening, and that's what's worrying me, that they're replacing the real things with their projections. And pretty soon, when there's enough of them, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, or you won't be able to tell the difference between the holograms they're creating and the real world. And that's a real worry for me, because I like my world and I didn't want to change it, and I certainly don't want them to change it. And that's the point why I'm doing all of this. I don't want them to change anything in my world, because they're not from this world and they haven't got a right to change anything around here. And I hope more people feel like I do. These are interdimensional extraterrestrial entities. They're not from Earth. They came from space, and they belong in space. It's possible they carry radioactivity, and being that there's so many of them, they're so numerous, that could be high dosage for everybody, because they're around everywhere. There's no place that they're not around. The whole planet has been engulfed in these organisms. They're like a cloud that's just enveloped the entire planet. So they must be raising the radioactivity level one way or another, because they're space organisms, and space is a radiation-rich environment. And these things are immune to it, but we're not. And nothing on this planet is immune to it. So just them being around us could be a hazard because of that. And I'm sure nobody's gonna be running around with a meter checking this that works for the government, because they're afraid of causing a panic. But I can guarantee that there must be more radiation now than there used to be, because these things came from space and there's so many of them, and they must have raised the radiation levels everywhere on the planet. It just has to be like that, because anything that comes in from space carries radiation with it, and so do these things. They're no exception. They know I'm filming them, so they've calmed down. They don't want to show too much on camera, but anyway, I'm glad I have the opportunity today to show them in their true light for what they are. They seem to work in some sort of principle like a mold. They can separate and come back together. It seems like it's just one organism splitting up into pieces, yet each piece can do its own thing intelligently, and then it can group them all back together and do something else. And being that they're so numerous, they know a whole lot of stuff, because they're everywhere, and the information is being passed and transferred all throughout the entire organism, or all of them. They share all that information. So no matter where one of them is on the planet, through all of them interacting, every one of them is aware of what's happening all over the planet, because they share all the information. And this is what makes them dangerous. They know everything. And that's how they know when I film, and even where I point the camera, they even know what I'm saying. So, because they're all around me here. I'm not immune to them being next to me. It's just that I have to film them from farther away, otherwise they're going to burn out the camera if I try to do it close. And like I said, I lost 3 cameras already, and it's getting too expensive to just keep losing them like that. But it will be no different up close. It will be the same thing, because with the camera I can get up close, and I wouldn't want to get any closer anyway, being that I think that they're radioactive. I don't want to get much closer, because they're around me anyway. But I'm definitely not going to go closer to high concentrations like that. Now, high concentrations like that are next to houses and buildings, you see. There's a lot of people living there. And this is a big city filled with people. And there's high concentrations like that all over this city. That's not the only spot. That's just the spot I happen to film right now, but there's a lot of spots all over this city that have these things all over the place. Practically every tree in Toronto has these entities on it. And not only trees, buildings, the lake is full of them. Lake Ontario is full of them. There's more of them than fish in Lake Ontario. In fact, there's going to be even more of them, and there'll be no fish because they consume fish and birds and insects and animals and everything. Trees, all the green vegetation, everything. They don't just steal electricity from power lines. They have to eat. Okay, you see how now the picture has become more blurred? That's because they put more of them in front to spin around counterclockwise and create like a veil by spinning around a nucleus very fast. Billions of them just in that one area alone, because these organisms can be very, very tiny, minuscule, microscopic size. Like I said, they can piece out themselves into tiny little bits and still be intelligent and act on their own, or they can all come together into gigantic forms. Just like a mold or a fungus or any organism like that, a reef is a good example how it spreads out or shrinks when attacked by something else. It's the same principle. These organisms work on the same principle. But the way they disguise themselves with a shield like that is by spinning around real fast, counterclockwise, and around the nucleus, and billions of them do that. And the velocity and the numbers create an apparition or a veil that you can't see through clearly. And it causes distortion and a blur. So I hope that gives you a better picture. I know it's a long video, and I'm going to stop it at 30 minutes in another 20 seconds or so. But I hope that gives you a clearer picture of what these things are, where they are, how they operate, and that they're really here, and that I'm not making this up. I'm 60 years old almost, and I wouldn't be making things like this up for any reason, unless I thought this was a serious matter, for any reason. Only because I think this is such a serious matter that I believe I need to do this and expose this before it's too late to do anything about it. So I went past my 30 minutes. I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for viewing. This is Super Mushmouse signing off. Again, the date is June the 11th, 2012, and it's now 11 a.m. Thank you.